No matter how many heroes may be reimagined, rebooted, or replaced, and with more and more comic superheroes being introduced every year, Spider-Man remains one of the most beloved, relatable, and recognizable around the world. Taking that kind of success and moving it to the big screen is harder than it sounds, as a few directors have already learned, with more lessons still coming. As Spider-Man makes his journey to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what better time is there to take a look back at the hero's movie outings in our latest docu-video, The Evolution of Spider-Man in Movies.
Look out, ooh, here comes Spider-Man.
Nicholas Hammond. It's Tobey Maguire who usually gets credit as the first movie Spider-Man, but Nicholas Hammond predated Maguire by more than 20 years. Before CBS greenlit an entire Spider-Man TV show, a 2-hour TV movie was developed to see if that TV show could actually be done. Hammond never performed in the costume, which is probably for the best, since it wasn't all that inspiring or heroic. Still, the superhero movie pilot was popular enough to bring in over 16 million viewers. And even though most fans took issue with Peter Parker's mission to take down a mind-controlling New Age guru, not a supervillain, a 5-episode series was ordered. It only ended up lasting 13 in total, since the cost of actually adapting comic book stories was too high. The network was also dealing with the same risk of superhero fatigue that movie studios are today, with TV shows and specials based on Wonder Woman, The Incredible Hulk, Captain America, and Doctor Strange all competing for attention. The TV show never actually made the jump from VHS home video to DVD, so if you've got a copy, hang on to it and you can see the show's problems firsthand. One especially weird example: every time Peter's famous Aunt May appears, she's played by a different actress.
That's me.
Tobey Maguire. It's hard to believe, but ever since the days of Nicholas Hammond's stunt double, foiling presidential bomb plots, movie studios had been trying to make a Spider-Man movie a reality. Countless scripts were produced, including one dark, adult one from Avatar director James Cameron, and directors ranging from M. Night Shyamalan to David Fincher were all considered. In the end, it was Sam Raimi, a director better known for small-budget horror, who got the job. It was Raimi's love and passion for getting Spider-Man right that convinced the studio, and they clearly made the correct choice. The casting of Tobey Maguire over more experienced or more classically handsome leading men raised eyebrows, but the decision to find the right Peter Parker, not necessarily the perfect Spider-Man, paid off. Maguire's goofy charm won over audiences, and his physical transformation was one of the earliest superhero makeovers to drop jaws. And thankfully, this time around, the costume, story, and villains all put the comic book source material ahead of everything else. With a one-piece Spidey suit torn right off the comic page, and an armored Green Goblin that still holds up, not even the studio's security could resist wanting their own costumes. It took the studio over a year to find a handful of stolen costumes, after a security guard and his accomplice took them home. Can you blame them? Sam Raimi's version may not be timeless by the standards of today's comic book fans, but it was the first movie to crack $100 million opening weekend, and one of the most successful and critically acclaimed superhero movies ever. It helped prove comic book heroes were Hollywood's next big blockbuster craze. It's usually impossible to catch that kind of luck twice, but Sam Raimi managed it, raising the stakes, the action, and doubling the budget for his sequel, Spider-Man 2. It's hard to pin down exactly what it was the movie got so right, but aside from an interesting, entertaining, and visually stunning villain in Dr. Octopus, the real victory was below the surface. Years before dark superhero movies became all the rage, Spider-Man 2 saw Peter Parker trying to be a hero and a man, and learning that being a superhero usually meant happiness wasn't possible. That's the idea that superhero movies and TV shows are still using for drama. And even if Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight has taken the spot of, quote, best comic book movie for a lot of fans, Spider-Man 2 remains one of the very best examples of what the genre can be, if not the top performer.
A Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
Andrew Garfield. When Raimi's third film showed his hopes for the character weren't the same as the studio's, the decision was made to scrap plans for Spider-Man 4 and make the upcoming production a reboot instead. The idea of rebooting a superhero so soon seemed like a risky move, especially since it meant telling the same origin story all over again. But after finding Andrew Garfield for the lead role and up-and-comer Emma Stone as Peter Parker's real first girlfriend, Gwen Stacy, things turned around completely. The story seemed to be a darker one, aimed at a younger audience more more used to grim heroes, and the darker, more tactile costume reflected it. Still, it wasn't all grim. Fans can debate whether Andrew Garfield could convincingly play an outcast or a bullied nerd as Peter Parker, but he captured the humor and sarcasm of Spider-Man like no one before. But one of the best aspects of the film was the obvious chemistry between Garfield and Stone, enough to build a franchise on, and when the pair started dating in real life shortly after, the future seemed even brighter. Fans were willing to overlook just how closely this, quote, untold origin story stuck to the previous one, and even forgive a CGI lizard villain thanks to improved special effects and a likable star. With director Mark Webb at the wheel, Sony moved to build an entire shared universe around the web-slinger, with spin-off films and even standalone movies starring villains like Venom and the Sinister Six. However, when Amazing Spider-Man 2 hit theaters, those plans changed, and fast. Critics and fans still couldn't get enough of Peter and Gwen, but with 2 villains and a ton of supporting characters and subplots all squeezed into a single movie, the reception was mixed. Despite adapting Gwen Stacy's death faithfully and powerfully, the franchise low box office take showed Sony that they were headed in the wrong direction. Almost overnight, sequels, spin-offs, and shared universe movies were permanently delayed, as Sony realized that you can't build a universe of franchises unless you get the central star right. Sadly for Garfield, that meant starting over from square one. Tom Holland. Fans of Marvel Comics were pinching themselves when word broke that the rift between Marvel's films and Sony's Spider-Man had been crossed, with the web-slinger being fully introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as part of Captain America: Civil War, before Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige would come in to produce a Spider-Man solo film. It wasn't long after the announcement that Garfield learned he was out, with Marvel wishing to actually cast a high school-age actor for the part of Peter Parker. Actors under 20 competed furiously for the part, with a select few being brought in to screen test with Marvel's heavyweights Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. In the end, it was Tom Holland who grabbed the part, already an expert jumper and dancer from headlining Billy Elliot the Musical in London. Marvel producers have assured fans they won't be telling the full Spider-Man origin story this round, but even a bit of origin story may be a necessary risk at this point, since fan hunger for Spider-Man, any Spider-Man, was proven once and for all when the new web-slinger debuted in the second trailer for Captain America's Civil War, and reactions exploded online. With a technical but classic suit and eyes traced right out of the animated series, not to mention the animated zoom on the eyepieces themselves, it's clear that while Spider-Man's suit doesn't change a ton from version to version, small changes can make a big impact. But now that movie fans have seen a Spider-Man that was fantastical, heartfelt, and cheesy in the best way possible, followed by a darker and more modern take, the world of comic book fandom waits to see how Marvel's new vision of Spider-Man will continue to surprise, or at the very least, keep from burning fans out on the wall crawler himself. What do you think of the newest take on a movie Spider-Man? Has your favorite version already come and gone? Or do you still think Marvel has a chance to find something truly special in Civil War and the new Spidey solo film? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one.